तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्।
महागणपते नमोस्तुते। महागणपते नमोस्तुते। मातङ्गमुखा नमोस्तुते। मातङ्गमुखा नमोस्तुते। महागणपते नमोस्तुते। हिमाद्रिजासुत नमोस्तुते। हिमाद्रिजासुत नमोस्तुते। ओंकारेश्वर नमोस्तुते। साई ओंकारेश्वर नमोस्तुते। महागणपते नमोस्तुते। मातङ्गमुखा नमोस्तुते। महागणपते नमोस्तुते। हिमाद्रिजासुत नमोस्तुते। ओंकारेश्वर नमोस्तुते। साई ओंकारेश्वर नमोस्तुते। महागणपते नमोस्तुते।
बुद्ध महावीर येशु साई।
बुद्ध महावीर येशु साई।
बुद्ध महावीर येशु साई।
बुद्ध महावीर येशु साई।
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा।
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा।
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा।
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा।
अल्लाह यीशु सतगुरु साई।
अल्लाह यीशु सतगुरु साई।
अल्लाह यीशु सतगुरु साई।
अल्लाह यीशु सतगुरु साई।
गीता वेद कुरान हो 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 साई।
तन में साई मन में साई।
तन में साई मन में साई।
रोम रोम में साई साई।
रोम रोम में साई साई।
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा।
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा।
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा।
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा।
बुद्ध महावीर यीशु साई।
बुद्ध महावीर यीशु साई।
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा।
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा।
अल्लाह यीशु सतगुरु साई।
अल्लाह यीशु सतगुरु साई।
गीता वेद कुरान हो साई।
गीता वेद कुरान हो साई।
तन में साई मन में साई।
तन में साई मन में साई।
रोम रोम में साई साई।
रोम रोम में साई साई।
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा।
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा।
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा।
वाहे गुरु बोल मनवा। बुद्ध महावीर यीशु साई।
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नमो भगवते रामरूपाय।
नमो भगवते रामरूपाय।
नमो भगवते रामरूपाय।
नमो भगवते रामरूपाय।
नमो भगवते श्यामरूपाय।
नमो भगवते श्यामरूपाय।
नमो भगवते श्यामरूपाय। भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
राम रहीम कृष्ण करीम येषु बुद्ध महावीर।
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 सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई देवाय।
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 नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नमो भगवते रामरूपाय।
नमो भगवते रामरूपाय।
नमो भगवते श्यामरूपाय।
नमो भगवते श्यामरूपाय।
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
राम रहीम कृष्ण करीम येषु बुद्ध महावीर।
राम रहीम कृष्ण करीम येषु बुद्ध महावीर।
सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई देवाय।
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 नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
साईनाथ भगवान, साईनाथ भगवान।
साईनाथ भगवान। साईनाथ भगवान।
साईनाथ भगवान, साईनाथ भगवान।
साईनाथ भगवान। साईनाथ भगवान।
सत्यं शिवं सुन्दरं 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 साईनाथ भगवान।
साईनाथ भगवान, साईनाथ भगवान।
साईनाथ भगवान। साईनाथ भगवान।
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि।
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि।
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि।
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि।
धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि।
धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि।
धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि। सत्यं शिवं सुन्दरं साईनाथ भगवान्।
सत्यं शिवं सुन्दरं साईनाथ भगवान्।
साईनाथ भगवान्, साईनाथ भगवान्,
साईनाथ भगवान्, साईनाथ भगवान्।
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि,
बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि,
धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि,
धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि,
संघं शरणं गच्छामि,
संघं शरणं गच्छामि,
सत्य साईश शरणं गच्छामि,
सत्य साईश शरणं गच्छामि,
सत्य साईश शरणं गच्छामि,
सत्य साईश शरणं गच्छामि।
साईनाथ भगवान्, साईनाथ भगवान्। महादेवा महेश्वरा साई नारायणा।
महादेवा महेश्वरा साई नारायणा।
महादेवा महेश्वरा साई नारायणा।
महादेवा महेश्वरा साई नारायणा।
नटनागरा दुःखभञ्जना साई नारायणा।
नटनागरा दुःखभञ्जना साई नारायणा।
नटनागरा दुःखभञ्जना साई नारायणा।
नटनागरा दुःखभञ्जना साई नारायणा।
करुणाकरा अखिलेश्वरा साई नारायणा।
करुणाकरा अखिलेश्वरा साई नारायणा।
करुणाकरा अखिलेश्वरा साई नारायणा।
करुणाकरा अखिलेश्वरा साई नारायणा।
अल्लाह तुम महावीर येशु 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 साई नारायणा।
हृदयेश्वरा परमेश्वरा साई नारायणा।
हृदयेश्वरा परमेश्वरा साई नारायणा।
हृदयेश्वरा परमेश्वरा साई नारायणा।
हृदयेश्वरा परमेश्वरा साई नारायणा।
महादेवा महेश्वरा साई नारायणा
महादेवा महेश्वरा साई नारायणा
नटनागरा दुःखभञ्जना साई नारायणा
नटनागरा दुःखभञ्जना साई नारायणा
करुणाकरा अखिलेश्वरा साई नारायणा अल्लाह तुम महावीर येशु साई नारायणा
अल्लाह तुम महावीर येशु साई नारायणा
हृदयेश्वरा परतीश्वरा साई नारायणा हृदयेश्वरा परतीश्वरा साई नारायणा
हृदयेश्वरा परतीश्वरा साई नारायणा
महादेवा महेश्वरा साई नारायणा भुवन बांधवा साई भगवान
भुवन बांधवा साई भगवान
भुवन बांधवा साई भगवान
भुवन बांधवा साई भगवान
मात पिता बंधु सखा तुम हो 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 भगवान
ईश्वर भी तुम हो अल्लाह नानक तुम हो
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 प्रभु यीशु तुम हो महावीर 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 तुम हो
बुद्ध देव तुम हो मेरे प्राणनाथ 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 तुम हो
साई राम साई राम
साई राम साई राम
साई राम साई राम
साई राम साई राम
भुवन बांधवा साई भगवान
भुवन बांधवा साई भगवान
मात पिता बंधु सखा तुम हो भगवान
मात पिता बंधु सखा तुम हो भगवान
ईश्वर भी तुम हो अल्लाह नानक तुम हो
ईश्वर भी तुम हो अल्लाह नानक तुम हो।
प्रभु यीशु तुम हो, महावीर तुम हो।
प्रभु यीशु तुम हो, महावीर तुम हो।
बुद्ध देव तुम हो, मेरे प्राणनाथ तुम हो।
बुद्ध देव तुम हो, मेरे प्राणनाथ तुम हो।
साई राम, साई राम,
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 साई राम,
भुवन बांधवा साई भगवान।
राम हरे साई कृष्ण हरे, सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे।
राम हरे साई कृष्ण हरे, सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे।
राम हरे साई कृष्ण हरे, सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे।
राम हरे साई कृष्ण हरे, सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे।
अल्लाह ईश्वर साई हरे,
अल्लाह ईश्वर साई हरे।
अल्लाह ईश्वर साई हरे।
अल्लाह ईश्वर साई हरे।
गुरु नानक यीशु बुद्ध हरे,
नानक यीशु बुद्ध हरे।
गुरु नानक यीशु बुद्ध हरे।
नानक यीशु बुद्ध हरे।
सौराष्ट्र महावीर साई हरे,
सौराष्ट्र महावीर साई हरे।
सौराष्ट्र महावीर साई हरे।
सौराष्ट्र महावीर साई हरे।
सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे,
सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे।
बाबा सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे।
बाबा सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे।
राम हरे साई कृष्ण हरे, सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे।
राम हरे साई कृष्ण हरे, सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे।
अल्लाह ईश्वर साई हरे,
अल्लाह ईश्वर साई हरे।
गुरु नानक यीशु बुद्ध हरे।
नानक यीशु बुद्ध हरे।
सौराष्ट्र महावीर साई हरे,
सौराष्ट्र महावीर साई हरे।
सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे।
सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे।
बाबा सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे।
बाबा सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे।
राम हरे साई कृष्ण हरे,
राम हरे साई कृष्ण हरे।
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 सर्वधर्म प्रिय साई हरे।
सर्वधर्म प्रिय देवा,
सर्वधर्म प्रिय देवा।
सर्वधर्म प्रिय देवा,
सर्वधर्म प्रिय देवा।
सत्य साई देवा, सत्य साई देवा
सत्य साई देवा
अल्लाह येशु बुद्ध और नानक
अल्लाह येशु बुद्ध नानक
अल्लाह येशु बुद्ध और नानक
अल्लाह येशु बुद्ध नानक
सौराष्ट्र महावीर तुम हो
सौराष्ट्र महावीर तुम हो
सौराष्ट्र महावीर तुम हो
सौराष्ट्र महावीर तुम हो
राम भी तुम हो कृष्ण भी तुम हो
तुम हो कृष्ण भी तुम हो
राम भी तुम हो कृष्ण भी तुम हो
तुम हो कृष्ण भी तुम हो
विश्वरूप तुम हो विश्वरूप तुम हो विश्वरूप तुम हो
विश्वरूप तुम हो
साई विश्वरूप तुम हो
विश्वरूप तुम हो
सर्वधर्म प्रिय देवा
धर्म प्रिय देवा
सत्य साई देवा
सत्य साई देवा
अल्लाह येशु बुद्ध और नानक
येशु बुद्ध नानक
सौराष्ट्र महावीर तुम हो
महावीर तुम हो
राम भी तुम हो कृष्ण भी तुम हो
तुम हो कृष्ण भी तुम हो
विश्वरूप तुम हो
विश्वरूप तुम हो
विश्वरूप तुम हो
विश्वरूप तुम हो
साई विश्वरूप तुम हो
विश्वरूप तुम हो
सर्वधर्म प्रिय देवा
क्षीराब्धिशयन नारायण क्षीराब्धिशयन क्षीराब्धिशयन नारायण क्षीराब्धिशयन श्रीलक्ष्मी रमण नारायण नारायण हरि नारायण 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 श्रीमन्नारायण नारायण नरहरि रूप नारायण नरहरि रूप नरहरि रूप नारायण नरहरि रूप वैकुंठवास नारायण वैकुंठवास वैकुंठवास नारायण वैकुंठवास वैदेही मोहन नारायण हे वैकुंठवास नारायण वैकुंठवास वैदेही मोहन नारायण नारायण लक्ष्मी नारायण नारायण लक्ष्मी नत जन परिपाल नारायण नत जन परिपालन क्षीराब्धि शयन नारायण क्षीराब्धि शयन क्षीरा క్షీరాబ్ది శయన నారాయణ క్షీరాబ్ది శయన శ్రీలక్ష్మీ రమణ నారాయణ నారాయణ లక్ష్మీ నారాయణ 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 శ్రీమన్నారాయణ నారాయణ నరహరి రూప నారాయణ నరహరి రూప నారాయణ వైకుంఠవాస నారాయణ వైకుంఠవాస వైదేహి మోహన నారాయణ వైకుంఠవాస నారాయణ వైకుంఠవాస వైదేహి రమణ నారాయణ నారాయణ హరి నారాయణ నారాయణ నరహరి రూప నారాయణ నరహరి రూప నారాయణ క్షీరాబ్ది శయన నారాయణ శ్రీలక్ష్మీ రమణ నారాయణ.
Sairam, thank you for the honor and privilege. I think it feels good to be back home because I've come here after 4 years. The last time I was here was a week before the lockdown in 2020. My wife and I had decided that we would henceforth visit Prashanti at least once a year around the Mahasamadhi period. It just so happens that work has grown exponentially and other commitments, and therefore I couldn't. I had 3 distinct signs from Baba over the last few months. And that's when I decided that it's time that I go to Prashanti or come to Prashanti because they were too stark to be unnoticed. And so I decided that's one way or the other I was going to make it in April. So it finally happened.
Wow. Are these something that you can share with us?
I'll try to. So in January, it so happens that I was awarded an honorary doctorate by University in Pune. And when I'd gone there, after the convocation was done, I think I was sitting with the rest of the dignitaries in the central conference room, and we were taken to another conference room. And there, at the end of a long table, there was a huge portrait of Baba.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't realize it. So I took that as a sign because it was the most unexpected of places for me to see his picture. Then I'd gone to Pran Pratishtha at Ayodhya. So 2 things happened there. I was waiting in the queue for the darshan, and right next to me there was a gentleman who I didn't recognize at that point because I'd met him only once. Out of the blue, he turned around and he said Sairam, and then I realized it was Ratnakar Garu.
Oh, yeah, so nice.
So because I'd met him for the first time in 2020. Then the third thing that happened was on the way back from Ayodhya to Delhi, right next to me on the flight, there was a Swamini who decided to sit next to me. And then she turned around and said, I was supposed to sit with the rest of my group, but something in me told me that I should sit next to you. I said, okay, please sit. And then we started talking. Within 15 minutes, the conversation veered towards Baba. And I think for the next 45 minutes, I broke down uncontrollably. Every time I would try to restart the conversation, I would again break down. So I was wondering what was going on. So then she said that she has been the vehicle for a lot of people for their gurus to communicate with them through her. So both for Shri Sai Baba and for others. So she said that maybe your guru is reaching out to you through me, and maybe he's calling you. So I said, okay, now it can't get better than this in terms of a comeback message. So I thought I must somehow make it. So I planned a trip around this period only. I was supposed to come via Calcutta because I was scheduled to have a hearing in the Calcutta High Court on the 19th. So I was supposed to come from Calcutta to Bangalore, from there to Parthi, and then go back. It so happens that the Calcutta hearing got adjourned. I was wondering what was happening. And then out of the blue, I received an invitation to speak in Bangalore on the same day. So I said, it can't get better than this. Now I'm going under any circumstances. hence the journey.
Wow. So in so many ways, Bhagwan not only has called you, but also has facilitated, ensured that you are here. So tell us, how does it feel being here? How does it feel when you stand in front of Bhagwan's Sannidhi?
First, I don't know if I'm important enough for Baba to call me. I just think that it was my own way of making the trip back. Two, it feels great to be here because when you're out in the world, at least in my profession and the kind of work that I do, it is typically a war zone. And to come back to Prasanthi Nilayam is truly to feel Prashanti in a different way altogether. And also it gives you the time to, or the opportunity to introspect whether some of the things that you do and say, are they consistent with the teachings of Baba, or are you moving away from it? These are questions that I've had to ask myself over and over again. Simply because some of the things that our civilization faces requires us to say things which are very important, and perhaps in a tone that may not be palatable to everyone. And that's against my fundamental nature. Nevertheless, I believe that sometimes when you have to do your duty, whether people like it or not, you must continue to do it. Because if that is the need of the hour, you have to continue doing it. So in those moments, I think you need someone who preserves whatever remains of your conscience and your innate nature. And who better than Baba to do it?
Wow. As you speak, I'm just reminded of that quote of Bhagwan. Swami says, follow the master, face the devil, fight to the end, finish the game. And to follow that master and follow the path laid down by the master,
Right.
you need that extra push, you need that extra force
Right.
to power you and something to fall back on. And
Correct.
I think that's what probably you were mentioning. Wow. If I were to ask you, if you have to describe Prashanti in 3 words, what would those 3 words be?
It's truly an island of peace. And I hope it becomes the epicenter for dharmic revival across the world. And 3, I hope that people learn the combined message of knowledge, bhakti, and seva. Because according to me, that effectively captures Baba's life. Because on the one hand, he does Veda Samrakshana. Therefore, there is a very clear insistence on protection of knowledge that Dharma has produced. And 2 is to put it in practice through bhakti in one way or the other. 3, it is of no consequence if it is of no use to others. And therefore, service is an important aspect. Now, service also is equally important because when you think you're doing something, there is a tendency to massage your own ego. So unless it is tempered by the sentiment of service, and it is governed by the code of conduct which is dharma, and it is informed by the knowledge that you have received, it is incomplete in one way or the other. So that entire path, according to me, is made complete and comprehensive by knowledge, bhakti, and service.
Beautiful. And if you have seen the various missions of Bhagwan, I think in some ways it is all about dharma, it's about service, it's about bhakti.
Correct.
The hospital is about seva, but it is with bhakti.
Correct.
The
Schools, institutions.
schools, the institutions. So what are your perspectives on the various institutions run by the Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust?
Here's the interesting thing about how I have been exposed to Baba in different ways. I've rarely referred to him as Bhagwan because not that I have a problem with it, but Baba feels more personal. Maybe that's the reason. So I hope your listeners and viewers don't mind that. I'm a 3rd generation Sai devotee. In fact, my granduncle who works here started off as an anti-Swami person. And then he made the transition to becoming a lifelong devotee. And he spent over 2 decades in this institution doing service. So that's been the nature of the family, in fact. Baba has been a part of our childhood. So we were forced to sit for bhajans, which at that point you may resent. Why are we doing bhajans? Why should we be doing all of this and all that? But in retrospect, these are the filters in the formative years which have saved you from a lot of things. or at least kept your conscience alive and awake and kicking whenever the moment called it. Two, it's unfortunate that I did not think it important to visit Prashanti as much when Baba was still around, physically speaking. He's always around. I had the unique and peculiar opportunity of seeing him for the first time in close quarters in flesh and blood on 24th of April 2011. When a lot of people who visited him every year didn't get that opportunity, I got that opportunity at that crucial juncture. I didn't know what to make of it. After I went back, that was exactly the period when I think there was a huge moment of churn going on. Simply because I was filled with regret for a couple of months for not having utilized the opportunity to come to Prashanti as often as I should have while he was still around physically. Nevertheless, I thought, der I durustai. At some point, you need to wake up. And so I decided to make it a point to make him some part of my life. I don't know if I've genuinely succeeded, but I think what he's done is that he has informed me on a regular basis that the people who have surrounded me at one point or the other, at every crucial step of my life, have all been Sathya Sai devotees without me knowing it. Oh. I knew it much later. So, I don't know, a lot of Sathya Sai devotees may relate to this. There's a fantastic portrait by the name Footprints.
Yes.
And which is effectively a story of the man finally realizing that he's been carried all along by Bhagwan, so to speak.
In his difficult times.
In his difficult times. And that, I think, holds true, especially for us as a family.
Oh.
And I can certainly say this, that with time, I've only realized it. So, the value of his service and his institutions become absolutely clear only when you do a simple analysis. Before Baba and after Baba, as far as Anantapur is concerned. A semi-arid region with perhaps a temperature range which matches only Jaisalmer, and with semi-arid conditions, with almost next to impossible conditions for decent agriculture, with no regular water sources, so to speak. This has become the epicenter for over 120 million people across the world. So many people have benefited out of this. So assume that even if you're an atheist and you still ask, what is the point of all this? Well, clearly, others have benefited from his work. And that, I think, is the true test of it. And three, it is impossible to think of religion and spirituality when hunger plagues you. And therefore, at a very practical level, he has tried to address that, and I think he has succeeded in doing that. The true testament to his work, I think, is when the people of Chennai were benefited by his blessings and for the contribution that he made to ensure that Chennai doesn't suffer from shortage of water. So I think even if one were to purely look at his work from a utilitarian perspective in terms of service, it must stand out as one of the finest contributions in the history of humankind. So that, I think, is a central contribution. So if you want to approach it from the perspective of bhakti, there is an example. From the perspective of protection of knowledge, there is an example. Or if you're simply looking at it from a philanthropic perspective, I think it's a stellar example. So there is a lot to learn from his life.
I remember Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, who was then the Prime Minister, when the water project was inaugurated, and he said Anantapur has become Anandapur.
Correct.
Because of the transformation that this place has seen, which you alluded to. You said, Baba, for you, is someone very personal. You connect to him at a very personal level, and you refer to the story of Footprints. Can I ask you, are there any moment that you can share when you really needed or very palpably you felt his presence in your life, his grace in your life, and you were going through something very difficult?
See, by nature, I struggle to conform. It's very difficult for me to say yes to authority. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is what it is. So you have to find a way to channel your basic nature in the service of a larger cause. And whenever anybody chooses a cause which is bigger than him or her, inevitably it leads to better results simply because you're no more working in the service of the self. I'm not saying that I'm interested in the betterment of the world and all that. I'm not going to make any such bombastic statements. All I'm saying is I've always wanted to be a part of something that is bigger than me. And in that sense, there are moments when you wonder whether your efforts are yielding some results or not. It takes a while for you to develop that vairagya where you're not associated with the results anymore. I don't think I've reached that stage yet. Or maybe there are phases when I am and there are phases when I'm not. It's more about him making his presence felt when you needed a sign, not just when you're in difficult times, but more about knowing whether this is a meaningful journey or not, whether the process is going to yield to something that has a lasting impact. And there, I think you realize one thing, that whenever you take up such a cause, the biggest drawback, and which could come back to affect you very seriously, is your own impatience. Patience is very important, particularly when you have chosen a path which is public in nature. So assume for a moment that you're working in a company and your goals are very clear. There's a very set clear career path. You can afford to be impatient there because the milestones are very clear. But when you enter the realm of public space, so to speak, there is nothing clear. It's not as if you know exactly where it will go, what kind of outcomes will be reached, what kind of deadlines will be arrived at. You have no idea whatsoever. So in those moments, I think having a spiritual background, or at least a practice that keeps you grounded, is important. And I should actually say this, hopefully your listeners will make sense of it, in the sense, I did not consider Baba even remotely as a guru for a very long time. He was just taken for granted as part of my setup simply because I've grown up with it. It took me a lot of time to actually understand the value of his presence. And particularly when you needed a voice within to tell you if this is the path that you should be taking or not. So for me, he's been the keeper of my conscience more than anything else. You can think of him as the savior when you're in difficult times, but I think it's more important to treat him as the keeper of your conscience, because then that's a daily connect. It's not a connect of crisis.
Beautiful. I think that's what Swami wanted all of us also to develop. All he said is follow your conscience, and he's there to give us that moral strength and moral fiber. In fact, as we are talking about patience, Bhagwan used to talk about 3 values, and Swami would say that is what would distinguish man from God. Patience, purity, and perseverance. And I think in the path that you are in, as you mentioned, in public life, when everything is uncertain, you need patience, purity, and perseverance. And for that, you need his pure love to guide you. Absolutely beautiful. So is that the reason also why your name has Sai in it? Because you were brought up in an environment which was into Sai?
At home, everybody has a Sai.
Okay.
So when people call us Sai in the rest of the world, we respond to it. But at home, nobody gets called Sai, because then 100 names will look around. It so happens that I have the good fortune of sharing the same Gregorian birthday as Baba.
Oh.
The same, so I was born on the midnight of 22nd of November.
Wow.
So 23rd November is my date of birth. And I've been told by my mother that, so when she was teaching in Chennai in her younger days, she told me this story much later. There was a friend of hers who introduced her to Baba much before she was introduced to Baba by her in-laws after her marriage. Mm-hmm. So she had already heard, because a lot of people would go in bullock carts and other transportation available then from Chennai and other places to this place called Puttaparthi, which nobody has heard of, and people would go. So apparently a colleague of hers was a devotee of Baba. And when she wanted a child, she apparently prayed that her child should be born on the same birthday as Baba. So that is what that teacher did, and that happened. So my mother perhaps did the same thing around the time of my birth, and turns out that's what ultimately happened. So she didn't realize that she would ultimately be married in a family that is a devotee of Baba. So I think things have a way of working themselves out for multiple reasons.
Wow.
So, so everybody is a Sai at home.
Oh, okay. And so right from the right even before you came into the world, it was all planned that Sai should be a part of your life. So beautiful. Awesome, man. You were talking about hearing the word Sairam in Ayodhya, and I think that moment when the Ram temple came into being, I think was in a way a moment which every Indian really participated in, really soaked in.
Correct.
It felt like it was a regeneration, cultural, spiritual regeneration of something that a lot of people were waiting and praying for.
Right.
So, can I ask you, what is your perspective of the country now? Because Bhagwan used to always mention that India is going to become the Vishwaguru, right from 80s, 90s. Swami used to always talk about it.
Right.
And you are there at the political theater watching everything, and would like to know from your perspective what you think of where the country is going on this path of becoming a Vishwaguru.
See, as a practicing lawyer who takes an active interest in issues of policy and public, public space, so to speak, without being in active politics, I see this as an extremely exciting time window for Bharat. I've stopped using the word India consciously because Bharat, I use it for a very specific reason, because it is our civilizational origin and identity. And so the construction of the Ram Mandir signals the arrival of a confident Bharat, which will no more pixelate its identity and which will confidently assert itself without necessarily being a bully. Okay? And this identity is basically saying, I will not hide my identity merely because it affects somebody else's sensibilities. And everybody else who respects my identity will be accommodated within. That definition of identity, along with a message of inclusiveness, is important, with the priority being that those who are willing to respect Bharat's civilizational roots will always find refuge and space here. And that is crucial because then you strike a balance between two things: retaining who you are and also making it possible to accommodate those who wish to be part of you, and without losing your sense of self. This message, I think, has been muddled for quite some time. And finally, we have a historic time window when this message can be articulated with crystal clear clarity and confidence, regardless of how the world takes it. Because I think it is time for the world to accept this message, or at least whether it likes it or not, or whether it agrees with it or not, this will be the way of the future. Obviously, this is not going to be an easy path, because those who have had a problem with Bharat embracing its traditional identity will have all sorts of things to say. And this will also test whether Bharatiyas have the strength and the courage of their conviction to walk the talk. And according to me, the next 25 years window is all crucial for Bharat. Every year is a milestone. Every day is crucial. It is going to be volatile. It will have its own set of challenges, very deep and grave challenges. But that is precisely why the spiritual awakening is important, because that gives you the strength that you need to deal with these situations. So that once you're on the other side of the 25-year cycle, you're looking at a Bharat which is hopefully capable of addressing the deep needs of people around the world in very real ways. And Bharat will perhaps be in a much better position to spread the message of calmness after this phase of volatility, because there can't be peace without strength. And it is very important for people to know that although you're capable of doing a lot, it is a self-imposed restraint that has ensured peace. And that message of restraint in every way is important for the rest of the world to absorb. In the realm of material consumption, in the realm of use of force, in the realm of fanaticism and whatnot. that has been Bharat's central message. Consumption with conscience and use of power with restraint, with a sense of responsibility and balance. This is a message that I think is extremely crucial and timely and relevant to the times that we live in. And there cannot be a better civilization and political state than Bharat to send that message across the world. And the best part is we've been blessed with 1.4 billion people who, if channeled in the right direction, are capable of acting as multipliers and megaphones for this message. So what used to be our weakness, which is the population, should hopefully convert itself into strength, so that we have 1.4 billion Bharatiya missionaries sending the message in different directions. Let's hope that happens.
Beautiful. I think that was very powerful. When people ask Swami, how is this going to happen? Swami said, if you look at Mahabharata, Yudhishthira represents dharma. So even though you had Bhima and Arjuna who were powers, but still they listened
Correct.
to Yudhishthira. Swami said that is the kind of role that Bharat also will play.
Right.
And what you mentioned about, you might have all the resources, but you exercise restraint and you have the mettle.
Correct.
To follow dharma, to follow the right path and thereby show the path to the world. I think that's absolutely profound. And it's really heartening that we feel that there is a change of that
Right.
nature now happening in the country. And you talked about India's culture, its civilizational roots. How do you see the centrality of Indian culture in trying to help the country go on this economic, spiritual regeneration, becoming a world leader?
See, the thing is, a lot of people think of culture and economics as two different compartments which don't affect each other. In the case of Bharat, and going by Bharat's track record and its history, that's been the exact opposite. Culture both feeds and informs economics, and it also feeds and informs your approach to material growth and consumerism. Bharat has never celebrated poverty. Bharat has worshipped renunciation. So renunciation is not the same as poverty. Poverty is perhaps when you don't make an effort to lift yourself up, or maybe your circumstances don't allow you to. Renunciation is when you have everything and you have all the resources, and then you choose to say, I want to get out of this cycle. So when Bharat worships renunciation, unfortunately, history has put it as some kind of worship of poverty. That is not what we are. If Lakshmi is one of our deities, how can we celebrate poverty? Right? So Bharat's traditional approach has been that grow, but with a code of conduct which we call dharma. So there's a very popular hymn from the Vedas, which I have quoted as part of the second book, in which I realized once I was reading it that even the devatas are governed by dharma. And ultimately, the traditional societal architecture of Bharat has been governed by dharma to ensure that there is no arrogation of power in the hands of one person or one group. If you have something, you should not have something else for you to be able to depend on others, to show that dependence is the way forward and interconnectedness is the way forward. So in that sense, I seriously believe that our growth story is not antithetical to our cultural roots. But I hope that our growth story doesn't follow the Western economic model, which emphasizes on rampant consumerism and focuses heavily on the production of luxury goods, which is a sign of advanced stage of consumerism with no thought spared either for nature or for everybody else who needs basic necessities. One of the reasons that there is a raging movement that's going on in the West with a lot of flaws in it is because the West has pursued a story of consumerism in the name of growth, relentless growth, where it has not sought to address certain, let's say, cross-sections of the society who are struggling for basics. When you do that, at some point there is bound to be a backlash. I am not someone who believes that the state must be in the business of business. I don't subscribe to that at all. I do believe that private players must create wealth as much as possible. But the state must take the responsibility of keeping their greed in check and to ensure that there is enough resource to provide for everyone, at least the basic resources. That does not mean that we encourage laziness in the name of all sorts of schemes and subsidies. Encourage people to work hard. But those who are unfortunate despite working hard still need help. And that is, I think that Bharat is uniquely placed to position, or let's say present as a message, because our societal institutions, including temples and dharamshalas, have been not acts of the state, but the combined acts of the society and the state, where they come together to help those who are less fortunate. So I don't see the point in dividing Bharat's growth story in a binary where we have to choose between capitalism and communism. Because Bharat has a very different model altogether, where it believes in creation of wealth, it believes in creation of artha, but also is informed by dharma to make sure that dana is an essential aspect of creation of artha. So if you look at all our traditional business houses, whether it's the Birlas or whatnot, they have a fantastic Vaishnava Sampradaya as part of the Vaishya community across the world. I mean, across the world, wherever Hindus are present. Even in, let's say, the small kirana stores, if you go to their places, they'll have a small dabba where they say this goes towards contribution towards dharma, period. Whatever it may be, whether it's temples or hospitals or orphanages. So at the micro level and the macro level, that sentiment has replicated itself. I hope that when Bharat is now retasting success in terms of economics, it doesn't lose sight of these traditional values. Because I don't see the point in celebrating a success story that is purely economic in nature if it has lost its cultural roots. Because if that is what we had to do, then we could have abandoned our culture and fully embraced the West long time ago, at least 100 years ago. Why did we do all of this then? Because we have a different message to share with the rest of the world, and there is something unique. Swami Vivekananda once said that every society and every culture has a message to offer to the pool of global thought. And this is Bharat's message. And that message must go hand in hand in our pursuit of glory. And the pursuit of glory must be tempered by meaning and purpose and not for itself. We don't need, I'm not saying we shouldn't learn from the rest of the world. Sure, there are a lot of good things to be learned from the rest of the world. But the sheer depth and scale and longevity of the Bharati experience is so vast, it's an ocean in itself, that you're bound to find something in Bharat's culture which already exists in other cultures, because it is a macrocosm of the world. So I hope we manage to strike a balance between both. Otherwise, it might end up producing a society which is rich, which is powerful, but which lacks conscience. That would be an immense tragedy of incalculable proportion.
Beautiful. I think that has been always Bhagwan's message all the while. You progress, but at the same time, you are deeply connected to the roots.
Right.
And as you very rightly mentioned, you cannot follow the Western method in its entirety. Consumerism is not modernism. We know how Bhagwan used to always talk about sealing on desires.
Correct.
COD. So COD, they say, is the way to GOD.
No, the thing is, we have always focused on minimalism. And now that is being taught back to us.
Yes. Like yoga and everything of India.
Correct.
But in a way, there is now a greater realization of this spiritual, this soft power, this culture power, this immensity and I think the relevance of principles and practices of Indian culture.
Correct.
So very beautiful to hear your thoughts also on this subject. And I know we don't have much time with you. You have a very tight schedule, but we'd love to hear you more on these subjects, because your views will definitely inspire the current generation. What would you like to say to all those people who never had the opportunity to see Swami, and especially the youngsters who are now listening about Swami, they are discovering Swami? What would be your message to this big crowd out there who are now hearing the word Sri Sathya Sai for the first time?
So first, I've made a conscious commitment to myself that I will interact with the youth organizations of the Sathya Sai Trust as often as possible to be able to understand, learn from them, and also share whatever little I know. But the one thing that I think I'm very clear about is I don't think it was Swami's intention ever to make dharma about him. He saw himself as a vessel and as a message for dharma, or let's say as a vehicle for dharma in that sense. So those who don't know Swami, if they are destined to know Swami, good. But if not, as long as they stay in touch with dharma through any source, I would still be comfortable with it. Three, I would only say that the pursuit of knowledge, the pursuit of bhakti, and the pursuit of service are all possible without necessarily giving up on your own lifestyle. One of the biggest questions that people end up asking is, do I need to become a social worker to do all of this? Do I need to give up everything that I have to do this? No, I don't think you need to at all. I have tried to actually follow that in my own way because I have not compromised one bit on my lifestyle in any way. As a practicing commercial litigator, I had certainly taken interest in enjoying the best of comforts that the world has to offer, with restraint, of course. And two, I also, thanks to my upbringing, thanks to my parents, thanks to the middle class upbringing that I've had, I know the value of time and money equally, and the importance of supporting those who may need it. So in that sense, I don't think I'm pursuing any of these initiatives with a sense of messianic belief that I'm here to do something. We are all doing our part. So since it's possible to strike a distinction, let's say a balance between the pursuit of your own desires or ambition and also giving back to the society in one way or the other, as long as that message is conveyed and it is governed by the code of conduct of dharma, regardless of the path that people follow, I would still think that they would still be pursuing the message or following the message of Baba, one way or the other, under whichever name it goes. So I don't have a problem with it whatsoever.
Beautiful. So we should not think less of ourselves, but think of ourselves less.
Exactly.
And as you said, Swami used to say that there is nobody who is an atheist, because there is nobody who does not want love, who does not subscribe to truth, or does not subscribe to dharma.
Right.
I think everybody wants all these values in some form or the other. They want peace. So nobody is an atheist. And I think, as you said, if you are following any of these paths, you will automatically discover. I think when the time comes, Swami himself will introduce himself to you in the manner that is suitable.
Correct.
So it's everybody's journey, and we should leave it to Bhagwan to unfold it in their lives. Very beautiful. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
As I said, we would love to have you listen to you more, but we pray to Swami that he brings you back to Prashanti again, and especially so that more younger devotees and younger generation can benefit from your wisdom. Thank you so much.
Swami willing, I'll be back. Sairam.
Sairam.
Om Jai Jagadish Hare, Swami Sathya Sai Hare, Bhakta Jana Samrakshak, Bhakta Jana Samrakshak, Pati Maheshwara. स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रित कल्पलतिका आपद्बान्धवा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे मातपिता गुरुदैवमु मरि अन्तयु नीवे स्वामी मरि अन्तयु नीवे नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नागेन्द्राशयन ॐ जय जगदीश हरे ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी हो साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल आरती अंधुको मंगल आरती अंधुको मंदर गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा शांति 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 समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।
गजानना श्री गणराया आदि